Welcome to another episode of Live With It. I am Sarah Lane, and this is the show where the DTNS family of folks lives with a gadget, a service, a product over a long enough period of time that we feel pretty confident we can tell you about whether you should live with it or not. There's good, there's always bad, and we're sharing our thoughts with you. And Roger Chang, I'm sharing my thoughts with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. This is one of the products I'm very excited about because I've been looking at home mesh networking devices for the longest time, but I've been a little hesitant due to the pricing. So I'm curious to know how well this has been working for you because I got to justify the amount of C notes I need to spend.
Excellent. Yes, totally there with you. Spoiler alert, we are talking about Wi-Fi mesh networks today, specifically, and I'll say the product name exactly as it's written, Netgear Orbi Whole Home Tri-band Wi-Fi 6 Mesh Network System. Now, this is a network system that can be purchased in a variety of ways. You can just get the router, or you can get a variety of satellite Orbis. So what I have is the router and 2 satellites. So it's a tri-pack. Now, I will say off the top, this is actually a hand-me-down from a friend. So Netgear, which makes the Orbi line of mesh network products, has a Wi-Fi 7 compatible line, which is quite expensive. That is not what we're talking about today. This is Wi-Fi 6. So both are on the market. You can buy either one of them. But just tech specs to make sure that you don't get the two confused. And we'll have links in our show notes as well. What you get with the Orbi Tri-band Wi-Fi 6 system that I have is coverage of up to 7,500 square feet. So yeah, it's a big house or an office space for up to 100 devices that can be connected. You can extend coverage up to 2,500 square feet with each additional satellite. Again, they are sold separately, but you can find them bundled at Amazon. Netgear has some links as well, specifically on its website. So the Wi-Fi 7 for newer versions is going to run you for a 3-pack like what I have around $2,000. That's a lot of money. That would not be the kind of money that I could spend. Again, this is a hand-me-down from a friend who was upgrading to the Wi-Fi 7 version. So he kind of said to me like, I could sell these for cheap on Craigslist, but could you do something with them? And I was like, yes. Number one, I love free things. Number two, in my apartment that I live in now, where I work, obviously, I've got my home studio where we're doing the show. My apartment is not some palatial estate at all. What it is long. My office is on one side of the house, and my bedroom is on the other side of the house. It's not the end of the world, but you're going through some walls. If you've got a router and a modem in the office, which I do because I have to be hardwired to do our stuff. And when I first moved in, Spectrum guy comes over. Spectrum was the company that could just give me the best internet for the price. So that's what I went with.
And to kind of clarify, Spectrum in your area is cable modem, or is it fiber?
It is not fiber. It would be nice if it was. No, there's no fiber option in my neighborhood. So yes, cable modem.
Got it.
So, all right. So that happens. I've got everything set up in the office. It's all good. What I noticed in my living room, the rest of the house is all Wi-Fi. So, because I don't need to be hardwired for anything else. In my living room, which is adjacent to my office, my studio, I use my smart TV. Not a problem. All is fine. In my bedroom, if I use my Apple TV, which is connected to my TV in the bedroom, it was sort of like working half the time. Anyway, so enter friend of mine who's like, do you want this? And I'm like, that actually could be a really good solution for me because I thought about, buying my own mesh network. And then I thought maybe I just don't use the internet in the bedroom, is it the end of the world? So this was a gift that was given to me. So the Orbi system, they all look the same. The router And the satellites, they're all the same size. They're thin, but they take up some room. If you wanted to hide them, you'd have to get kind of creative about that. And all you really do is disconnect the router that you're already using, connect the router, and I was up and running right away.
Did you have to do any sort of arrangement? Because it is a mesh network. You need to put the satellites in specific spots in your space in order to get the best performance? Yes.
So that was a little trial and error. So my router, sort of the presidente of the team, goes in, just sitting on the floor here right next to me. Hello. And that one in my office, so that's connected to, I am connected, my computer that I'm using now is connected to the router, you're just doing router stuff. And I was a little worried that my Spectrum router, which came with my Spectrum service when it got set up, was not going to accept the Orbi. It was fine. That was not a problem. What I did then was I put the first satellite of 2 in my bedroom. And I just kind of plugged it in, got it online and was like, all right, this is fine. It worked. But when I added the third satellite, which is pretty equidistant between office and bedroom in the living room, then it really worked. I mean, my speeds increased like tenfold. It made a huge difference. It's sort of like the mesh network truly wants to be a mesh network where none of them are super far away from each other, and that's how they talk to each other.
Did the unit you receive come with like documentation? So was there like a guide? No documentation. No.
This is literally my friend in his garage being like, here's the box. Let me know if you have any questions. And that's actually funny because he had mentioned like I could sell this for cheap, but he didn't really care. He just kind of wanted it out of the house, right? So you can find what I've got going on for about $650 new. I looked on Amazon this morning. You could get a refurbished model, which, I mean, that's technically exactly what I have, something that's been used before in another household. I mean, I knew the person who gave it to me, but same thing, more like $400. So this is still something that is going to be an investment. But if you're having internet connectivity issues or just moving into a larger space, and again, I mentioned homes, and my apartment is old, so who even knows what these walls are made of kind of thing. It was certainly not built thinking that we were going to be in a modern age, but you might be moving into a space where your connectivity is going to be really important. And the satellites themselves, not just the router, but you can hardwire into them too. So if I'm in the living room and I'm like, I don't know, I want to plug my gaming PC, using Ethernet into one of the satellites, you can do that. So you can get creative.
Okay, is there a web interface that you can plug directly into the main router and adjust it from there, or is it solely access through the app?
There may be a web interface, but they push you towards the app. It's supposed to be, the whole idea with Orbi is it's supposed to be, you just take it out of the box, you just plug it in, you replace the whatever router you were using before, and now you have the app. They're very, very app focused. So once I got into the app, I was able to change, for example, his structure was like, he had one in his kitchen and I don't, so I was able to rename everything, rename my own, SSID, change passwords, all good. That was not hard, but that would have been a huge issue if I hadn't have had him help me get in to be an admin. It still would have worked, but I would have had really no control over everything. The app also is not only it just kind of is nicely designed, but it will give you all sorts of interesting data about, your speeds. I mean, you can do speed tests on the internet. That's not the end of the world, but it gives you better information about how all the satellites are talking to each other and when.
Does that help you adjust where the satellites go? Like, can you run a little test on the main unit, and then it's like, oh, the satellite's a little slower. Maybe if I move it over here, I can see.
Yeah, yeah. And I think everyone will have to, anytime you've set anything like this up, I've done the Google Home version of this at a previous residence before. It really does. You can think to yourself, oh, this corner is fine. Like, how could it be so different than that corner? But sometimes it really does matter.
You mentioned before that you could add additional satellites. Like if you had a big, like say you lived in a mansion or something, which I wish I did. How much in addition are those satellites? Like, are they $100 each? Are they?
They're like $250.
$250 for one satellite.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is if you are daisy chaining your existing setup. And again, I'm a big fan of refurbished tech. You don't always get everything you want specifically pristine, but I love saving a buck where I can. But if you've already got an existing setup and you decide you need, more satellite units, they're available, and you can get them for various prices. But yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely, if I were to say, oh, well, I've got 3 units now. I've got my main router, I've got my 2 satellites, and I'd like 3 more satellites. I never would in my apartment, but yeah, let's say I move somewhere else that is a mansion, or this turns into something that's an office space addition. Then you have to take the cost into consideration. It's also, as things always are, cheaper when you buy the bundle rather than the single.
Are there regular security updates? Because the thing with Wi-Fi routers is it's often the gateway to a lot of malicious behavior. And the more security updates you get, generally you can feel a little more secure that at least all the security holes and the firmware on the device are being patched.
Yeah, so it all goes through the app again. You've got firmware stuff, security. There's a whole security section for anybody who wants to get into the nitty-gritty of how this all works. But it really is designed as a device that you run through your app, and it kind of just works. I had, like I said, a couple hiccups getting things set up correctly. But once I did, it's been smooth sailing, not an issue at all. You have plenty of options within the app to, fuss around with your settings. But this is not for like a hardcore, I want to configure this router very, very specifically type person. So that's something to take into consideration as well. This is very much a set it and forget it kind of system.
So having said that, what are your final recommendations? So if I'm an individual and I just want to set up broadband Wi-Fi in my house because I just moved in, or I just need it to connect my smart TV, my Internet of Thing devices, my Hue lights, and my work laptop, is this something that's worth it? Because $600 is a pretty steep price, or $680.
$680, yeah. Last I checked. Again, you can do the refurb option, which will bring it down a couple $100. But still, this is, let's call it, with tax and shipping, you're going to be spending $500, at the very least. I would say that this is not necessary for all spaces. People say like, ooh, mesh network, that sounds interesting. If you live in a small space, you just don't need it. The Wi-Fi is going to work, or you're going to be hardwired into wherever your router is anyway. And I would never have sprung for this if it had not been something that a friend just said, here, do you want this? I don't want it anymore. I wouldn't have paid for it. But I also would have just gotten used to being like, yeah, the Wi-Fi in my bedroom doesn't work. You just have to use 5G on your phone if you're in my bedroom. Which actually, funny enough, I forgot to say this earlier, but a friend of mine was staying here at one point, and I wasn't, in the house, so they were staying in the bedroom. And they were like, yeah, like your Wi-Fi just is not like... It works so well in the living room, but you get into the bedroom and you can't use it. And I'm like, yeah, but you can just switch over to cellular on your phone, right? And they were like, yeah, just wanted to let you know. It wasn't just me. It was definitely just not working back there. And this has completely changed the game. So again, if you're looking for if you've got a big enough space, I think you do need something like this. But it's almost like try it out. See if your speeds already are fine without something like this. If they are, you don't need it. If they're not, or you're just wanting to be on sort of an upper echelon of speeds and just really great connectivity, or you have just a ton of stuff that has to connect to the network, then mesh networks, and specifically my Orbi, whole home tri-band Wi-Fi 6 mesh network system, has been a huge upgrade for me. So 2 thumbs up for me. You have to consider the cost and just also consider your lifestyle and your needs.
Yeah, so I definitely am going to look at this as soon as I get my finances in order, because I live in a home. I live in a 1,800 plus square foot house, and it's all one level. So there are parts of the house that are all the way in the back that I do need to access. And I get it, but the speeds, as I mentioned before at the start of this, aren't the same as they are when I'm closer to the main Wi-Fi router. So definitely something I am going to look at.
You would be a really good candidate for something like this. So yes, do let us know if you decide to pull the trigger on any of this. And if anyone's out there listening or watching us right now and saying like, this worked so well for me, or it did not work well for me, or I have a whole other system that's more expensive or cheaper than this, but I like it better, we would love to hear from you. If you have recommendations at all, because I know a lot of you have not only a very vested interest, but a need for mesh networks. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, we're wrapping up this episode of Live With It. Please remember, we can only do shows like this with your continued support, and we thank you so much for that support. Visit patreon.com/DTNS to learn more about becoming a patron. And for those of you who are already patrons, thank you so much. We love you. Until next time, I'm Sarah Lane, and you've been watching Live With It.